There are places in this world where darkness lingers, where the veil between our world and the next is thin. Blackwood Manor is one such place. Its history is steeped in tragedy, its halls echoing with the whispers of tormented souls. It's a place that sends shivers down your spine just thinking about it. I've spent years investigating the paranormal, seeking answers to the unknown. I've been to haunted hospitals, abandoned asylums, and forgotten cemeteries. But Blackwood Manor held a different kind of allure, a dark promise that beckoned me closer. People told me it was different, that it was truly haunted. When the opportunity arose to spend 24 hours alone in Blackwood Manor, I didn't hesitate. It was a challenge, a dare whispered in the dead of night. Could I face my fears and confront the unknown head-on? There was only one way to find out. This wasn't just about the thrill of the hunt. This was personal. This was about staring into the abyss and daring it to blink first. This was about Blackwood Manor. The old iron gates groaned as I pushed them open, their rusted hinges protesting against the intrusion. The air grew heavy, thick with the weight of unseen eyes watching my every move. The manor loomed before me, a gothic monstrosity silhouetted against the dying light. Stepping onto the overgrown path, I felt a chill run down my spine. The crunch of gravel beneath my feet was the only sound that dared break the unsettling silence. The manor seemed to absorb all other sounds, swallowing them whole in its dark embrace. As I approached the front door, its dark wood warped and cracked with age, I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of decay and something else, something unnameable. It was the smell of fear itself. This was it. There was no turning back. I took a deep breath and stepped inside, the door creaking ominously behind me. The interior of Blackwood Manor was shrouded in darkness, the only light filtering through dusty, cobweb-covered windows. The air was stale and heavy, thick with the scent of decay and the weight of 1,000 untold stories. It felt like stepping into a tomb. Dust-covered furniture sat frozen in time, each piece a silent testament to the manor's long-forgotten past. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional creak of the floorboards beneath my feet. It was the sound of a house settling, or perhaps the sound of something else, something unseen moving just beyond my perception. As I moved from room to room, each one colder and more oppressive than the last, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The hair on the back of my neck prickled with awareness. Every shadow seemed to hold its breath, every corner a potential hiding place for something sinister. There was a palpable energy in the air, a tangible sense of dread that clung to me like a shroud. It was as if the very walls of the manor were whispering secrets I wasn't meant to hear. The daylight hours passed slowly, each tick of the clock an agonizing reminder of my isolation. I tried to distract myself by documenting the manor, recording my observations and taking photographs of its eerie interior. But the silence was relentless, broken only by the sound of my own breathing and the beating of my own heart. At times I thought I heard whispers, faint murmurs that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. They were like phantom conversations, snippets of words carried on the wind, but I could never quite make out what they were saying. I tried to rationalize the sounds, attributing them to the old house settling or the wind whistling through the cracks. But deep down, a part of me couldn't shake the feeling that I was not alone, that something else was here with me, lurking just beyond the veil of perception. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the dusty floors, the feeling of unease intensified. The manor seemed to come alive in the twilight, its shadows deepening, its whispers growing louder. I knew then that the true test was about to begin. Section 5. The Darkness Awakens. As darkness enveloped Blackwood Manor, the temperature plummeted. It was as if the setting sun had taken the warmth with it, leaving behind a chilling cold that seeped into my bones. The silence, once unsettling, now throbbed with an unseen energy. The shadows stretched and twisted, taking on sinister shapes that danced at the edge of my vision. Every creak of the floorboards, every sigh of the wind, sent shivers down my spine. I felt a presence, a darkness that was growing stronger with each passing moment. The air grew thick, heavy with anticipation. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, my breath catching in my throat. Fear, primal and instinctive, began to claw its way up from the pit of my stomach. Blackwood Manor was no longer just an old house. It was a living, breathing entity, and I was trapped inside its nightmare. Section 6. A Night of Unexplained Events. The night descended upon Blackwood Manor like a suffocating blanket. I sat alone in the darkness, my senses on high alert. Every creak and groan of the old house sent a jolt of adrenaline through me. Then it began. A slow, rhythmic tapping sound like someone dragging their fingernails across the floorboards above me. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. The sound grew louder, closer, until it seemed like it was right outside the door. Mustering my courage, I slowly approached the door, my hand trembling as I reached for the handle. The tapping stopped. I threw open the door, but the hallway was empty. As I turned to leave, I felt a cold breath on the back of my neck. I spun around, but there was nothing there. The hair on my arm stood on end, and a wave of nausea washed over me. I was not alone. Section 7. Fear's Grip. The events of the night continued to escalate, each one more terrifying than the last. Objects moved on their own, doors slammed shut with no explanation, and disembodied voices whispered my name from the shadows. I was surrounded by an unseen force, a malevolent entity that seemed to be toying with me. Fear, cold and relentless, tightened its grip on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I tried to convince myself that there had to be a logical explanation for what I was experiencing, but deep down I knew the truth. Blackwood Manor was truly haunted. The line between reality and nightmare blurred. I was lost in a labyrinth of terror, my senses overwhelmed by the constant barrage of paranormal activity. Section 8. The Ghostly Apparition. The clock ticked past midnight, each second an eternity in the haunted heart of Blackwood Manor. My nerves were frayed, my senses stretched thin by the relentless assault of the paranormal. Just when I thought I couldn't take anymore, it happened. A cold spot, more frigid than the already icy air, settled over the room. The air crackled with static, raising goosebumps on my skin. And then, I saw her. A shimmering figure, almost translucent, materialized in the center of the room. It was the ghostly apparition of a young girl, her face pale and drawn, her eyes filled with a profound sadness. She was dressed in a tattered white gown, her long dark hair cascading down her back. She moved with an ethereal grace, gliding across the floor without ever seeming to touch it. For a moment our eyes met, and a chill shot through me, colder than anything I had ever felt before. It was the look of someone trapped between worlds, a soul forever bound to this place of sorrow. Section 9. Facing my fears. Terror threatened to consume me as the ghostly girl approached. Her sorrowful eyes held mine, reflecting a depth of pain that transcended the veil of death. Yet as she drew closer, a strange sense of calm washed over me. This was no malevolent entity, but a lost soul seeking solace. I stood my ground, my fear giving way to a profound empathy for the spectral child. In a voice barely a whisper, she spoke, her words echoing with an otherworldly chill. She spoke of tragedy, of a life cut short, of a restless spirit bound to the manor. I listened intently, my heart aching for her plight. Her story, filled with pain and longing, resonated deep within me. Section 10. A Changed Perspective. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the darkness, the ghostly girl faded away, leaving behind a lingering chill and a profound sense of sadness. I stood there for a long time, the weight of her story heavy on my heart. The experience had shaken me to my core, forcing me to confront my own mortality and the mysteries that lie beyond our understanding. I had walked into Blackwood Manor a skeptic, seeking answers to the unknown. I left a changed man, forever marked by the encounter. The fear I had felt was real, visceral, but it was the fear of the unknown, the fear of confronting the darkness that resides within us all. But fear, I realized, is not always a negative force. It can be a catalyst for growth, a reminder of our own humanity. The ghostly girl, trapped in her spectral prison, had shown me the true meaning of compassion, the importance of acknowledging the pain of others, both living and dead. Section 11. The Haunting Truth of Blackwood Manor. Leaving Blackwood Manor, I carried with me more than just memories and evidence. I carried the weight of understanding, the knowledge that some places are forever marked by the tragedies they have witnessed. The manor stands as a testament to the power of the human spirit, both in life and in death. It is a place where sorrow and hope intertwine, where the veil between worlds thins, and where the echoes of the past whisper to those who dare to listen. Blackwood Manor is not just a haunted house. It is a vessel of stories untold, a sanctuary for lost souls seeking solace. It is a place that will forever haunt my memories, a chilling reminder of the unseen forces that shape our world. The experience has left me forever changed, my perspective on life and death irrevocably altered. I left a piece of myself within those haunted walls, and in exchange I gained a deeper understanding of the mysteries that lie beyond.